Okay, let me go over the basic audio player. Now, I don't have the animation that I was planning on having working right this moment. I just wanted to have at least a music player. I am following the chapter in the book. It's page 691, which is chapter 94. And one of the first things you'll notice from this chapter, of course, is the audio formats that they say that it can handle. And of course, the first one is the AAC, which is the default format for iTunes. So if you're using a song, I'm using ABC album, Lexon of Love is the name of the album, and I have one of the songs, and the problem I had was when I downloaded the songs from iTunes, of course it made it into the iTunes format, which I thought was the AAC, which I thought would work fine inside of Xcode, but it didn't work. So what I had to do was convert that AAC format to an MP3, and that seemed to work fine. So just keep that in mind. I don't know if it's directly from iTunes to format just didn't work for me, so I used it. And in the example in the book, in the chapter in the book, they use an MP3 too, so that seemed to work. So if we see what we have here, I'm going to just talk briefly about how to put this together, and then maybe you can make your own sample for me. Again, I made my own interface with Open. It has some problems, of course. I've been struggling with being able to get get the artwork to format properly, but that, at this point I was just trying to get the audio player to work. So as far as formatting, I ain't too worried about that right this moment. I just wanted to get the audio player to work. So I'll go over how this works, and maybe you can make your own sample. Again, there is a button to play sound, and then there is a button to stop a sound. Again, there's just a button to play a sound, and then there's a volume control. And that's basically what is in the chapter 94 in the book. So if you could, and let me just go over how I put this together and some things to look for. Again, let's just talk about building the interface. These are graphics, and I just put them on the screen. This one, let me get my my side window here. Again, this is a image. These are images, so I use the image option down here. The image. Let me bring my thing up here. Of course, those are images. Okay, image viewer for this and this. This is an image viewer also. This is some labels that I put on here. These are just plain labels. Now these buttons, the play button and the stop button, can't be images, at least the way that I have found. They actually have to be buttons. And what I mean by a button is you can put a graphic in a button, and let me show you that. That was probably one of the trickier things in that. Putting the play and the stop have to be a button and not just an image, just because it has to have an action control in the programming, and I couldn't get an action control on an image, but I could get an action control on a button, and I could put an image in the button. So let me show you how I did that. Okay, so the most important thing again about the play and the stop button is that they have to be actual buttons. So if you put in a button, and so you type in button in your option here, and you drag your button out onto the screen. You might want to make it bigger because it's gonna be kind of the size of the graphic that you have here is what I'm looking for. So I drew the box, or the box of it. You can see it right here. Now to put an image into the button, it's gonna go underneath the type over here, and we're gonna say custom. Okay, so over here in the attributes, right here, the attributes window, the show attributes. Again, on the button, I'm gonna say custom for the type. And then for the configuration, I'm going to leave at default. But once you choose custom here, you can see there's an image option that shows up right here. And if you click on the image option, then you can go and choose the image that you might have made for a stop button or a play button. and there it is. And so again, custom, and then you have image right here to put an image in your button. And the important thing about that was, again, when you're dragging, and we'll get to the programming now. So let's look at the programming. The book talks about how to play and stop the sound, and I'm not going to go through and type this all in, or, not have you watch me type it all in here. In fact, I had to do it 3 times to get it to work. So I mean, I don't. It's not easy, I understand, and it took me 3 times to make it work properly. So it takes many hours to even make a simple thing like this. I understand. This is, but you're dealing with both programming and images and so on, and then of course alignment. I have a whole bunch of constraints to have these positioned where I want them, and I'm still struggling with that, being able to position everything where you want it to be in the document. But in this case, I followed the programming that was in the book. So the first page they talked about, and let me hide this for right now. We don't need that anymore. You see how to put the image in your thing there. So the first page, they had you add the AV foundation. I guess the AV stands for Audio Video Foundation. So that is part of the Xcode that tells it, hey, we're going to use some controllers, right? A play controller, a stop. Okay, so you'll notice down here, there's some functions to control the things like the player, audio player right here, and audio player right here, and so on. And so AV audio player delegate. So you're bringing in some and using some pre-built programming within the Xcode or Swift language. So in this case, we have. So I put that in. In addition, they had you type in the AV audio player delegate, which again that adds resources that you can then call from when you're doing your programming. The first one, of course, again is another one. They had you put in the variable for the audio player is AV audio player. So audio player is a name. So we made a variable called audio player, and that's basically taking the pre-made audio player controls. So those are the 3 lines of code that you typed in from page 693. Then down below, let me just let's talk about dragging the links to the document. So you have to make some connections between the controllers and the Swift file, right? So on page 693, they talk about dragging the controller options in, and to do that, you want it to be below the load function here. So after the view did it load? Okay, so let's not even look at that. This is just the player stuff right here. So let's not look at that. That's a little bit later. But jump down here, these IB action function audio player, these you drag from here in. So to drag from here in, and I'm just going to do the new one I did. I've already done this one, and this one, and this one. Those are the 3 things you need to drag into your Swift file, because these are the 3 things that are controlling. The play button, the stop button, and of course the slider for the volume control. When you drag this in, and this is probably where I made most of my mistakes, as far as dragging it in and naming it properly. So look at the way that they name it in the book and make sure you name it properly. Again, to drag this in, you can control click and drag it in. And where it says connection, you want to use action. Okay, action. So not, right now it says outlet. I'm going to use action. And this again is on page 693. And then they want you to name it a certain way. And of course, this first one is called play audio. So you just type in play audio. And then the event is going to be touch up inside. And that again is on page 693 in the book. Again, this is a button with a graphic in it, and then you hit the connection, and it makes a connection over here. Then on page 694, is the programming that you need to type in. Again, I've already typed it. It is here. So I'm going to remove this right now because I don't need it because I've already done it. It's here. So again, and in fact, I'm going to remove that because I don't need it. I showed you how to make a button. So again, we drag that in, drag this in, and then the programming is here. Most of the problems I had was trying to get the volume control, at least following the instructions from the book. Once at the bottom of page 694, you'll notice this is where you type in the option to load. Okay, load the music file. Okay, so we need to load the music file into memory. That's what this is, and of course there's the name of the file right here. So this needs to be the name of your sound file. I didn't put any spaces in there. You probably could, but when I name things, I tend not to put spaces. And then again, it says file type MP3. And when I tried using the AAC format that comes with iTunes, it just didn't work. So I just went with the MP3. And then this is if the audio player is working, then play it, prepare to play. This basically loads it into memory, and then it prepares it to play unless there's an error, which is this one is the error. It'll then print out the error. And then there's some options. You didn't really need these ones. I just put them in. That's on page 695. It says you really didn't need them, but I still put them in. Again, it was on page 695. And I did get it to work without these, and I did get it to work with these. So those are 1, 2, 3, 4 kind of lines of code that it said to put in after this, and that did hopefully get it to work. I don't know why, but that's sort of how I got it to work. Again, this is an audio player, and if you test it. Again, I'm still struggling with the layout, with the constraints and all that. I'm still struggling with everything to get laid out totally properly. I think I know what I did wrong with these. That's why they look kind of funny, but that's okay. But alignment and getting size right has been just a total burden. But I do got the sound playing and the volume control working and the stop button working. So see if you can make something like this, and then we'll try and integrate it this week, the sound player with the animation, so that when you hit the button, and I have where you can hit the play button and the animation going and the stop button. So at least try to get a sound player working. Again, chapter 94 in the book. Try and use your own graphics. I showed you how to make the button with a graphic in it. So see if you can make that happen.